Hey, so I found it's an older video, so it may not be exactly, but this was Road Atlanta on a pretty worn out set of rain tires. So I mean, it's slow. You're almost a gear down in some places, but I figured I'd post a lap or two to give you an idea. So if it does rain, you can kind of see where the puddling occurs in a lot of the corners and especially at the bottom of the S's. But it'll give you an idea as to some areas to avoid because one, it changes your line trying to find grip away from anywhere there's rubber laid down. But two, this track does puddle up a bit, albeit it's not like a skating rink like Mid-Ohio with that sealer. So I'm just going to play a little bit. I may mention or point to a couple areas. This is the back straight going into 10A and B, and we'll run maybe a full lap-ish. Turn. The volume on this is somewhat irrelevant. So you can see this part's not horrible, but as you get down in the bottom of 10A and B, you can see some puddling both on the outside right there. And then I still use the rumble strip some, but you can see how the water kind of sits in different areas, and it gets really slick on exit here. So I avoid those, the loaded side rumble strips as much as I can. Still short shifting, but not going as fast, so the short shift takes place later coming down the hill. And I was still, figuring it out. A lot of puddling right there at the exit of 12, right by start finish. And then move over just a little bit instead of being completely over track left. And this area is dicey. Look at the little rivers that develop. You get one right there, so you get a little hydroplaning. And then not so bad up the hill. And I don't remember 3 being all that treacherous because you're coming to the inside. Over here was wet, but the outside's not bad. You can see a little bit, not a dry line, but kind of where it stays dry. It was me and like 2 other guys out because everybody else babied out. But notice how the good line through the S's is really pretty wet, and there's where that river comes across. Really smooth on downshifts, Michael. Right? Even if you have to kind of take your foot and blip the throttle because you just let that sudden clutch release happen, you're going to spin. Another big area of water coming in, kind of those low spots into turn 6. And then 7, I don't remember being so bad. You just don't want to go off. A little bit on the inside, puddling by the rumble strips. That was a little bit too wide. But, mud and muck and wet grass. And now just kind of picking a line away from the big puddles down the back straightaway. As I remember, it was freezing cold. That's why I didn't even ask. I just left the tonneau cover on over everything but me. Now watch, right as you get into those rumble strips, see that puddling start to develop? So you can use them a little bit later, but not as much as you would in the dry. And then watch, coming up to start finish, how it's really wet right where you don't want it to be. So it kind of changes your line just slightly. I tried to straddle that little bit of a river going into 1. One of the things, especially for Boogie, is racing in the rain. If you can have all 4 tires in the very wet or in the moderate dry or whatever it is, I try to, if I can modify my line just slightly, go where all 4 tires are kind of in the same level of wetness instead of having half in, half out. So that's why here, if you take that normal line, I'd have 2 tires kind of right in where I don't want it. So I straddle that and then jump across and then sort of straight-ish through the river at the apex of turn 1. So it takes a few laps to kind of figure out how you want to modify the corner. But all 4 wheels in a consistent level of wetness, it just makes the car more predictable, is all. A lot of water there. And this, it had already kind of stopped, but that river right there can be substantial if it's pouring rain. So definitely want to be going straight. so that you can kind of catch the car and don't jump out of the throttle, just like driving across an icy bridge, just consistent. Again, straddling that one little river, just so smooth, and it feels like, you know, a Sunday drive. That's okay. And here I do a double downshift instead of straight to second, just to kind of smooth everything out. Breathing it right there just to make sure the front end was going to bite. There you go. So a little bit of Road Atlanta in the wet as well.